Oh, look what we have here. Call of Duty 2 in 2025. 20 years after the game's release. Yes, it was that long ago. 2005 was when this game first came out. So it's been a very, very, very long time. I'm sure those of you who were around back then feel super old right now. But here we are, 20 years later. And yeah, the state of the game these days, I mean, it's to be expected. There aren't really a whole lot of players online. I was actually able to get a 1v1, which was amazing. I just randomly came in at like 11 o'clock at night on, like, I think it was a Friday or I forget which day it was. And there was someone actually in the lobby. Like, I was amazed on the Xbox 360. So, yeah, every now and then you'll find someone, but it's not very common. You're never going to get any, like, full matches anymore. That just doesn't exist. That hasn't been the case for years at this point. I think the last time I got, like, a full game of Call of Duty 2 was probably, like, I don't know, 2012? I don't know, something like that. It's obviously more active on PC. It's always been more active on PC, but the PC version just... There's no better way to say it. It just sucks with all the heavily modded stuff that's on there where they give you like kill streaks and sprint and all these different things that just change the game so much. And most of the time it's filled with bots anyway. It's not like you have a lot of people that play on PC. It's pretty dead over there as well. Like not as dead as the 360 version, but at least the 360 version is the vanilla game, the way it was intended to be played. Even if no one's playing it anymore, I don't know. I just still kind of... I'd rather just play a 1v1 every now and then in COD 2 than to put up with the PC version. Because I made videos in the past about that. And I wouldn't recommend it, obviously, unless you want to play the single-player campaign, which was really good and still holds up to this day, I think. So for that, get Call of Duty 2. It's worth playing, but for the online multiplayer, obviously not. Because this was like in the era before Call of Duty was known for its multiplayer, first and foremost. Like, the multiplayer was above everything else. Ever since COD 4, that's just the way Call of Duty has been. But before that, Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, and they also had some other games too, like Big Red 1 and United Offensive. Like, those games were made mostly for single player. They had a multiplayer mode that was kind of tacked on, but... You know, Call of Duty 2 still had a good multiplayer mode in its own right when it actually had players and was active. I remember as a 12-year-old kid who played this game for the first time because I wanted to play all the Call of Duty games that came out before. Modern Warfare 2 was my first COD, so I wanted to play all the old ones too. And even though it didn't have kill streaks, even though it didn't have all the features of a modern Call of Duty that I knew Call of Duty to be, you know, create a class, you know, all that stuff, it was kind of, it felt bare bones in comparison, but it also was just a whole lot of fun in its own way, and I came to love and appreciate it, even years after it came out. And even 20 years later, you know, you look back at it and compare it to some of the modern Call of Duty multiplayer games, especially the World War II ones, like, holy shit, Vanguard, you have laser guns and Snoop Dogg as an operator, like, it doesn't feel like an authentic World War II game, while Call of Duty 2 feels authentic and it feels true to the World War II setting that it takes place in. Whether we're talking about single player or multiplayer, COD 2 just nailed the World War II setting. It really did. Maps were all good, the weapons were good. I like how different factions, you had different guns that were locked to the specific faction. So if you were part of the German army, you had the MP40 and the MP44, but if you were in the American army, or if you were on the Russian army or the British army, there were weapons that were locked to that faction, which really helped add to the immersion and made it feel like a special experience when you had a different faction compared to what you played in the last match, right? I mean, the game has obviously shown its age, and you can see that in the gameplay, but again, this is a 20-year-old game. It was a launch title for the Xbox 360, so I like to kind of be kind to old games and not try to judge it based off of modern standards, but even by modern standards, it does a hell of a lot of stuff better than some of the new games we've been getting. So that's why I come back to it every now and then, and I always have fun every time. I mean, this was just a quick 1v1. The guy fucking quit the match for whatever reason, because I guess he was getting his ass beat. He didn't like that. So I only really got to play it for 5 minutes, but it was still 5 minutes well spent. But yeah, overall, get this game mostly for the single player and nothing else, and expect to not really be able to play much multiplayer, but, you know, try every now and then, go into the multiplayer lobby and see if you can get something. You just might every once in a while, but it's definitely secondary to the single player because that's going to be most of what you're going to get in 2025.